Hello, hello, my beloved waking gods and goddesses. Welcome to Love, Truth, and Beauty. Maria West here. This is episode 406 and my 21st installment of my series, Conversations with Women on Love, Truth, and Beauty. And with me today, I have my beautiful, beautiful sister, Amanda Jane DeMarco, who is a planetary grid reader, healer, seer extraordinaire, and just a goddess incarnate. Welcome, Amanda. I'm so happy for you to be here. I've been wanting to have you on the program, as I said, for over a year, and here we are, and the timing is perfect.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you and talk with you and everyone watching today and dive into the pressing topics that I think we're going to get into, which is really relative for our current times and current events and
Indeed.
how everyone is feeling in terms of the planetary ascension. So I'm so excited and couldn't be a better
Indeed.
time. It's April
Yes.
1st, April Fool's Day today.
Yes, yes. And the end of Ramadan, supposedly, as of yesterday. And as we know, we are at war. We're at war for our consciousness, for our resources, for power, for the proverbial good versus evil. And people want to whitewash a lot of this stuff by saying, "Oh, this is just, it's just the way of the world." No, no, no. I don't buy into that. And one of the things that I appreciate about you is that you have the ability to weave in all the planetary grid work that we need to be aware of in order to maximize spiritual immunity, our physical immunity, and to really endeavor to bypass the mind control attempts. And you weave that in with current events, which makes your work very relatable and, non-woo-woo, as a lot of people will like come at me with. And so, what is your take on what's going on currently and what we really need to be focusing in on?
Well, I think you just said it. We're at war. And I think it's significant that we pay attention to what's happening in the current timelines, in the 3D realms, in the 4D realms, in the 5D realms of Earth, because that's basically the battlefield.
Indeed.
And a lot of people, I think, in the higher consciousness community, I noticed that we use the galactic framework to speak about things that are happening in the 3D, to kind of filter through our history. We have the Lyran Wars, we have the Orion Wars, we have the Draco invasions, we have all these things that have occurred throughout our human galactic history. Well, that's really just paralleling everything that's happening now. There's actually no separation from what's happened then in the Galactic Wars as to what is occurring now in our present day timelines.
Indeed.
So everything that's happened, Lemurian wars, tribal raids, Ioni massacres, you name it, the Tothian takeovers, Atlantis falling off, all of these things. Guess what? It's all playing out right now, and we're living it now. We're experiencing it now. It's just, do people have the eyes to open up and see that everything in terms of galactic genetics, those Orion and Draco genetics, it's a part of humankind now, and it's existing through people, Earth, factions, religions, the holy wars. It's all happening with what we see today. So it's just, do you have the courage to call it out?
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm noticing with the people that I interface with is that there is a terror and a quaking within that people are either shutting it off or they're just ravenous in terms of uh, understanding our galactic history because it is so complex. But at the same time, when you start looking at what's going on and all the different factions at war, in fact, you said it perfectly this morning, divide, conquer, consume. And so a lot of the times I feel like it's not so much about really focusing in on say the socio-political or the yeah, all that global stuff, because the bottom line is what is going on internally. There is a divide and conquer consume that's going on internally that is being activated by our bloodlines, our DNA, and also all of the input overload that happens with this technocracy that is really starting to take hold.
Yeah.
So that's why I think your work is like so important because you don't bypass any of that.
Hey, spiritual bypassing is definitely one of my pet peeves. We'll just say that. I think that we have a duty and we have a responsibility at this time to not spiritually bypass. And if you are, it's selfish. It's
Yes,
actually not very good for yourself and for humanity because we know that everything is connected. We know this through the law of one. We know this through the mother mitochondria grid. We know this through the Stargate. We know this through the holographic architecture of the planet. We know this just by um, our biosynthesis and telepathy and manifestation through collective thought, that we're no farther separated from the most suffering person on the planet, from the person being bombed in Gaza or in Ukraine or over in Yemen right now. We're not separated from that, that we feel the effects of those things when those things happen.
yes.
So, I personally get, and I don't want to say triggered, but I just get, um, I guess, ignited with passion to speak towards those right now that feel like escapism or feel that, going and buying a little village on an island somewhere and getting away from humanity is going to solve the problems. People who are unwilling to actually want to really dive in and open up and look at that vault of Orion that's there
Yes,
and filter through what it is because it's not ever going to get away. It's kind of like the saying, like, if you move away that your problems are going to magically disappear. They actually don't,
they don't.
because
There you
it's filtered
are.
through us. It's filtered through us.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, through our hearts, through our consciousness, through our genetics, through our universal tree of life. So what I've been noticing is happening on the planet is we have four main things that are kind of working against us. Um, One is the microwave radiation. Okay, this
Mhm.
is huge. This is a part of the technocratic takeover and the
Yes.
AI stronghold that we have right now. This is being hijacked through specific stargates. Particular areas, SS2, SS3, Mount Shasta,
Mhm.
and basically all of the major ley lines running down through Texas to Miami, all of the southern regions of the United States specifically are getting overloaded and bombarded by this radiation waves that's basically cooking people about 15 hours a night in their sleep. I don't know if people are super aware of that, but um, it's happening everywhere, but it's heightened in these areas particularly.
Yes. I've
So
been
there's
keeping
that.
track of that. There's an app that you can actually download that actually shows you the level of radiation over vast amounts of area of the US and the world. And it's like, holy shit, it's criminal.
It's not good because people aren't sleeping good. They're not able to
Mhm.
regenerate their cells at night. There's a lot of fatigue. There's a lot of uh, restless body syndrome,
Yes,
um, amplified ascension symptoms, and just failing health overall, I would say, because of
yes.
it. Kind of like we're being poisoned, like we're frogs in the boiling pot of
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, we
So,
are. We are
yeah.
on every level. It's like, it's like pick a poison, any poison, and it is being infiltrated on every level of what we interact with, whether it's our water, our food, our homes, the technology waltzing in and out, our cars, our just walking down the street or even or even hiking, you know. Um, it's just really amazing to me. And people will actually default that this is a normal state of affairs and just gloss over it.
Yeah. It's well, I think that's a part of the symptom of the problem is it actually creates that. It
Yeah.
creates them to gloss over, to not be strong enough to be able to do anything about it, and to just say, "Oh well." And but I do see a big shift in this. I do see a lot of people on the ground that are pushing out and against, the pilots that are spraying the chemtrails. I see, we have the Make America Healthy Again movement. We have things that are starting to stir, and I think it is because of the awakening that is happening here in America at this time that people are starting to really kind of find a sense of empowerment with fighting back against these things. So I do think
Yeah.
that there's movement there, but I do think that this is the base concern for the technocratic takeover and AI,
Yeah.
harmful ideology that's
Yes.
happening.
Which is why I think they make it so seductive. Like I've noticed an upticking in some of my own personal ads. And I am an advocate for if you're not using your Wi-Fi or your devices, you turn them the fuck off. Turn them off. You don't need Wi-Fi 24/7. So I don't understand. And then if you live in an area where you're surrounded by people who have their individual Wi-Fi networks and on and on and on, that I think a great thing to do personally is to invest in Faraday technology as much as you can to really shield yourself from the effects of all the 5G and the push to 6G. And not only that, just a lot of the weaponizing of our satellite systems I mean, there's a good reason why there's tens of thousands of satellites surrounding the planet. And yeah, I don't think it's all that great, personally, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I think,
I'm entirely on board with you, sister. There's a lot of things, yeah, we can be doing to try to help ourselves. I think, obviously using like particular crystals and shungite and like EMF
ooh,
pucks and things like that, and also EMF blankets. You also, like you said, turning things off or even resorting back to lead paint. I mean, there's a reason why they banned lead paint, and it's because it actually protects against radiation. So maybe even having if you can find out which way that the cell towers are coming in your house or where your Wi-Fi
mhm,
modem is, where you
yes,
mostly spend time in your house, you can safeguard your house in some way. But I think also coming back to the body, such as antioxidants, because what's happening is it's harmful for your free radicals that are tearing apart your cellular structure, your atoms, your biology, and
yes,
your carbon.
yes.
So, yeah, intaking anything that's high in antioxidants, I found particularly to be helpful. And also, uh, grape seeds. Grape seeds are high in antioxidants. Anything seeds, you have to focus on the color of the rainbow. You have to focus on anything like super
Here.
vibrant or roots, root foods and things like this. And then also you want to uptake your iodine because dehydration and any sort of like nuclear radiation, EMF, microwave radiation, that iodine is recommended to sustain the body. So uptaking iodine as well, I think can help people through that.
Yes. What do you suggest in terms of especially the emotional mental triggering that is like this constant barrage? I've noticed an upticking in a lot of the suicidal ideation and the what the hell is the point? We're all going to die anyway. And also, I've actually been asked quite a number of times where I can get fentanyl so that people can be sourced, that if they hit the wall, they can actually do themselves in. And I find that to be not only disturbing, but a reflection of this divide between sanity and really going over the edge where we're being pulled apart. And that is that internal sort of divide, conquer, consume, where we feel isolated and we feel like there's no way out, no resources, no future. How would you suggest dealing with that?
Don't, so that's it's a
It's a
big it's a
loaded,
big question.
yes, yes.
Well, one, understand what we're dealing with, okay?
Hmm. Hmm.
We have the what we just explained, the microwave radiation, AI technological, harmful radiation and robot society that's encroaching upon us, which we need to push back on it. We need to fight
Indeed.
for that. Um, we also have the solar flares, and solar flares that are coming in, and
Yeah,
I was just explaining
they're
this
not
on my
going to go
channel.
away.
They're not going away and they're only getting more intense. So you need to start pre-gaming yourself and start preparing and understanding how those solar flares impact your body. A lot of these things propagate depression, anxiety, and suicidal
Mhm.
ideation because you're heating and cooling internally to a point that your body's going into like radical repair, and they can take weeks to recover from, and they
Mhm.
completely deplete your energy.
Yeah.
So you have to start, kind of pre-gaming a little bit and stop looking at these things like, oh, big surprise, solar flare. No, this
Yeah.
is the norm. This is how we live here. And we got to find ways to roll with those flows of the solar radiation.
Yes.
Also, uh, the war waves that are coming in the planet. So every time that, we got war going on in Ukraine and Gaza and all over the place, basically how the earth works is every time we have these massive death portals that open and are taking lots of lives, it's pulling from other places. So over here where we're not maybe experiencing that, but so it's taking our life force energy to send life force energy where it needs to go. So
Yes.
that's a wake up call to humanity to understand how we're all connected and we're all unified. And we all need to understand that give and take of life force energy here. And then also we have to look at the hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, fires.
Hmm.
All of that's amping up as well. That also takes a toll on our health, our well-being, and our spiritual immune system and our consciousness. So I think those are the four major impacting things in terms of what's causing that. So understanding that for one, I think helps, but also I think that people have to find for one, they got to focus on their health. Like health, number one top priority. And I'm talking physical health. Number
Hmm.
one top priority.
Yeah.
Like you cannot sustain your spiritual evolution, your consciousness, your heart, your feelings, your emotions, your connections to other beings, and your will to live if you don't have a body.
Yes. Yeah.
So, you know,
And that is the whole point of being on this plane of existence is to master the physical existence as best as we can, in addition to that alignment of heart, mind, spirit with the body. And I think it is like this is like a very potent time to be living in this reality because we're being called on so many levels to mind our physical vehicle. How does it impact? How does this thought, how does this person, how does this emotion, how does this shock wave coming at me impact my body, my cells? And what can I do about it?
yes,
You
yes.
know?
There's so much one can do about it. There really
Yeah.
is. It's not all doom and gloom, even though it feels like that. We have to
Mhm.
recognize we're going through the times of change and the times of tribulations and the times of revelation. And we're in revelation on the 40 cents, but we're in revolution in the 5D. And so it's a difficult time. It truly is. And give yourself some grace and some space for all those things. But also know that you're being given an opportunity to either again, spiritually bypass or find your conviction, find your will, find your value, find your justice, find your voice, and wield the sword. Because there's a lot of injustices and there's a lot of shadow coming to light. And we need to step into power. We need to support the things that are not okay. I think we're shifting out of the time of the mindset of the oppressor versus the oppressed versus just
Mhm.
what's wrong and what's right.
Yes. Yes. Like there is a real deal right way and right action, in my opinion, you know. I do believe when it comes to the good versus evil polarity, that there is indeed evil and there is indeed love. And
Yes.
that's a difficult one. The heart-based, I call it the heart-based new humanity, where we have to like really examine the triggers and the hate that percolates within, that a lot of us, oh, I don't want to look at that, or no, that isn't mine, or you know but once again it comes back to divide, conquer, consume, and you either are at the helm of it or you are at the effect of it, and a tool for it, which I'm finding to be like, I live in a very quote unquote woke environment where I am in the middle of a sanctuary state nearby a sanctuary city, and all victimization has been weaponized. And I'm definitely one of the people on the hit list for them because of what I stand for, what I do. And it is a daily practice for me to really be in my heart of hearts and not spew that hate and not get sucked into the sort of he said, she said, they said, we said, and it's easy to do because it is such a collective default, especially, in that sort of 3D realm where those people have not moved through that first veil of illusion where the matrix tells you
Yeah.
who and what you are and what you need to do. So those of us who are doing this work, it's like, and it takes all of us, this isn't a one-off thing.
Yeah. I would say those people in these cities, it's a rude awakening for them right now. They're just getting a taste of the
Hmm.
cruelty and the hatred that exists on this planet. They're not even getting inducted into the depth of it. They're just getting a little sparkle of it, and they're all running around crazy. So I think the veils are slowly being pulled back in these communities to wake them up to the bigger depths and the bigger truths that are happening where the real evils exist,
Hmm.
and other places in the world like Stargate 10, and places where the depth of the warfare of the holy war is occurring in the Great Rift of Africa all the way up to Israel and things like this. So it's trickling out. I say it's a black heart virus that has spread
Hmm.
across humanity, and it's contagious AF. And it's there to it's there really to dissolve and get things back to a space of neutrality, but right now it's hard for people to see through those timelines. But
Yeah.
I understand it's difficult in the communities right now, but it's necessary. It's necessary because it goes so much deeper. It goes so much darker. And we have to understand truly who and what and where is the actual predators.
Hmm.
Where
Yes.
are the actual invaders? Where are the actual threats against humanity? These are all precursors that people are experiencing in these communities to awaken them to the invasion of the planet.
Yes. And it has been invaded, kids. It really has. I know a lot of people just go, no, it hasn't. There's no such thing. And yet, if you really look at some of the behavior, particularly of those who are just like unhinged and weaponizing those triggers and inciting violence upon innocent people, it just shocks me when I've had a few people in my life, all of a sudden, boom, their eyes are open to what is actually going on in that realm. And this is in the cities, and just the weird stuff happening on public transportation or in shopping malls or even movie theaters, where all of a sudden there is this conflict that erupts. And it is just like, it's this focal point in time where you see this mental schism that would actually murder people. and you see it in it's just live and in your face, and people are shocked, and they're shocked into that awakening, that consciousness of shit, this is not okay. And I think more and more of that is happening. Unfortunately, it's requiring us to like really see some evils, which is really horrific. I know for myself, you talk about family lines. I have family who are in Russia. I also have family who are Russian and Chinese married to Ukrainians who are in Ukraine. So I have skin in the game somewhat. And just the exchanges that I have with these people, and these people they're normal, everyday people. They don't want any of this. And yet they're caught in the middle of, the powers that want to be and this overarching divide, conquer, consume. And so it is just happening on so many levels, including our natural or perhaps not so natural disasters happening.
Yeah.
Whether these are man-made and weaponized on purpose, I mean, who knows? Um, I try not to believe that, but a lot of evidence points towards, the timing of this, it's uncanny.
Well, the divide, conquer, and consume is coming through a lot of painting a beautiful picture and also grooming. It's really an ideological war.
But
It's
that's a
ideological.
good point. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Um, and it really, I mean, the core of it goes back to the Holy War. I mean, what is at the basis of all of it? And this is what people don't realize is because all these people that are running around, you know, I assume you're probably talking on some level about people blowing up Teslas and, you
Yeah,
know,
indeed,
yeah,
indeed. Yeah.
yeah.
I have friends who own them, and it's like I called them out. I've called them out and go, look, you know, and these are quote unquote left-leaning people who once upon a time adored Elon Musk. I mean, they thought he hung the moon and stars and sun and all that kind of stuff. And now it's like, but this is the craziness, they eat their own. And I say they because I just don't even relate to any of it. It's like, what is happening? But I've seen it. I've seen people actually do this horrifying stuff. And what is that? These are grown-ups.
I think these are people that have lived in comfort for a long time. They've lived
Mhm.
very shielded, perfect, pretty, perfective worlds. And what's happening is their bubbles are bursting.
Mhm.
Okay. And when the bubble burst, where do they go? Because it's like, everything that I thought was real is dismantling. The illusions are dissolving. The veils are being removed. And yeah, it makes them go into a psychotic breakdown. But guess what? They're going to get over it and get elevated to the next level. They're getting a whooping right now. They're getting a daddy's home and it's time to get your shit together type of thing that's
Yes.
happening and they don't
Yes.
like it. They're throwing temper tantrums.
Grow up already.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean I think it will settle down, it will dissolve, but it's forever altering people, but it needs to because underneath all of that there is a real harmful world war that's going on and that's the holy world war.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's the war that we see playing out right now between the Jews, the Christians, and the Islamic
Yes. Yeah.
faction.
Yeah. The Abrahamic religious triad. It's wow.
Yes. It's on fire, right? It's like
Yes.
unlike anything we've ever seen. And well, I think it's always been there. I mean, we know that going back at least 6,000 years, at least everything that played out with Atlantis, we know that this was also infused with
Mhm.
the
Yes.
essence of the Melchizedek bloodlines and the holy wars of these forefathers and things like this. So It would do people to get informed, to get knowledgeable, to understand why these wars are occurring, to understand the ideological division, to understand what these pro-Palestinian movements are actually about, to understand that all of this was actually premeditated and the Draco invasion has been infused into our governmental systems before October 7th even occurred. I
Yes,
mean, when you look at the universities right now and all of these protests and stuff, they knew about this before it was even going to happen.
yes.
I mean, that's
It
crazy.
is very, very crazy.
And it's because there are Draco factions, legions, and systems and organizations that have been funded by the government and also by Qatar and by Iran and by Saudi Arabia and by all these other countries that have brought this stuff over to the United. It's not just the United States, but it's impacting all of the Western world.
Oh,
Essentially, the
indeed.
Western world, the free world, is under attack. So it's like these side pockets of Elon Musk and da da da, these people doing crazy shit. These are just the loony bins that have no idea what's even going on in the world. They're just off
Indeed.
spinning their wheels into
Yes,
some, self-destruction combustion. They're not even connected to the real things that are happening. They're just a byproduct. They're just a symptom of the problem. The real problem is, at the core of where these major corporations, governments, and systems are making the big moves in terms of war, in terms of operation, in terms of shifting power control on the planet.
hmm
And this is where
hmm
we see the invasion of the Draco system. Basically, the Western world is under attack. You know, um, it's coming through a soft jihad, and it's coming through a violent jihad. It's coming through a
Yes,
resistance that
yes,
claims that's coming from the force of the Antichrist.
yes.
It's
Yeah.
all Antichrist.
And jihad's come in all kinds of forms, kids. It's not just war. It's of the spoken word, free speech. It's of writing. It's of food. It's of our relations. So it is not just about a sort of militaristic or religious clash. It is really
Yeah.
the clash between good and evil, as um, simplistic as that can be said. But it's not very, very simple, especially when you have people who are, number one, they're ill-informed. They don't want to know about history. They don't want to know about how things actually came to be. So you bring up a really great point about understanding the context, the history, going back many, many, many millennia, and to put that into context, and how it is still being played out because these are the same beings that have been harvesting humanity for many, many millennia. And here it is, still,
Yep.
you know.
Yep. The harvest, and the wars are the harvest. The death portals that are opening in Ukraine, that's the harvest. All those young men and boys dying
Mhm.
constantly for what? For what? What are they dying for? Nothing's happened.
Yeah, yeah,
Nothing's moved. Russia hasn't conquered more territory. They're all dying for nothing. It's really sad. And that's the harvest. Gaza being broken down to bits and rubble the way it is, that's the reaping. Everything that's going up through the Red Sea and Iran and Yemen, like everything's about to pop off at the Diego Garcia location down there in the ocean. That's the harvest. It's being propagated to essentially there's a within the Red Sea, you have the Kaaba, and the Kaaba is a demonic, human, galactic, spiritual, draconian, Sumerian, Anunnaki technology that
hmm
they've run CERN technology, uh, anti-life technology in and around that system. It's a hive. It's actually a swarm. It's a hive that exists on the planet
Yes,
in plain sight.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so, that's a call to all of the Draco genetics, and they're signaling to their hive members right now. So
yes,
everyone that has the Draco gene code and their blood code, they're all getting signaled, they're all getting activated, and they're all being
indeed,
called to the hive.
yeah.
And so it's, yeah, through ideological warfare and to shift people into the direction of moving their life force energy towards that negative Saturn lunar moon matrix and the lunar
Mhm.
gods. The lunar
Yeah.
gods right now are running rampant on the planet. It's all like um, the Baal, the god Baal, the god Allah, the god Pizazu, all of the envious, wrathful, angry, Poseidon, um, uh, Zeus, the Thunderbolt, the Aquilin grids, the golden Aquilin grids, like all of these, like the hijacked grids. This is what we're seeing being amplified, and
Mhm.
they're trying to claim territory.
Yeah.
They're trying to actually relocate the Stargate systems right now and move their control systems to other grids. They're trying to shift up the power matrix right now. And what they have their eye on right now is the United Kingdom. So
Mhm.
they're going to the Draco invasion trying to conquer the Commonwealth kingdoms, starting with London. They want Washington, D.C., they want Paris, and they also want uh there's another location within that. It's I can't think of it right now. There's like four of them that I was seeing. Um it's another location in the UK. uh, I think Glastonbury, but they're trying to conquer the UK. They're trying to basically take that over, and then they'll
Yeah.
have full division over the Commonwealth kingdoms, and that's where the Michael and Mary turnstiles are running. That's where they actually have black sun wheels that are in the land because those are the easiest to conquer because the liberal left and the ones that are going cuckoo luku, they are siding with the Draco invasion because
Yeah.
it's negative empathy.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Well, and
left
the
the left
teamwork.
isn't yeah, and
Their
the left is
teamwork is
inverted.
amazing. I was living there between 2016 and just before the COVID, and what I witnessed was, I mean, really a lot of the, for lack of a better way to describe it, invasion of the body snatchers, like people just becoming something else based on whatever it was that was being weaponized within them. And this turnaround, this like, what is happening? And, I remember talking about it with some of my friends over there who just thought I was insane. And now these same people who thought I was insane are like going, holy moly, what happened to our country? You know, it's like the extrication from the EU was one thing, but I think already it had already been invaded. Nobody wanted to talk about the grooming gangs. People have said, "Oh, you're just making that up." No, I'm not actually. And even in my travels to Ireland, I saw that in 2019, I was attacked in Belfast after I did a presentation about the masculine and feminine, and was attacked by a woman in a hijab, and it was a white woman in a hijab with her posse of what I can only assume to be migrants. I don't know, and knocked to the ground, spat on, kicked, and being
Wow.
called a white patriarchy apologist. And the irony of it, I studied Islam for many, many years. I've read both versions of the Quran, pre-Medina, after Medina, the Sirah and the Hadith. And I'm like going, okay, there is no love and light here. Okay. This is a playbook of murderous intention.
Yeah.
I
It's a
mean, they can no
declaration of
longer,
war. It's a
oh,
declaration of
holy
war.
moly. Yes, yes.
Yes.
And so just the irony of being called a white patriarchal apologist, me as a Eurasian woman, talking about the masculine feminine energies and the real need for right action, masculine activism to like start busting move. And this woman who obviously has no idea. I don't think you want to be walking around in an Islamic country doing what you do, because that is not a good place for you. And just the willful ignorance and adhesion to getting caught up and being used as a tool. And I just remember the look in her eyes where it was just she was feral, feral, not there, really.
It's the black heart virus. It's there.
Yeah, yeah.
There's patriarchal domination and control. The typical Mohammedan carries all of the masculine implants. So they
Hmm.
have the king of tyranny implants, they have the hedonistic implants, they have the seals, they have seals in the heart, eyes, and ears,
Yes.
and they are their entire generation going back to the 17th century is built upon false ideologies and lies. I mean, the whole belief system was founded by the Jesuits. I mean, it was literally created by the Black Pope. I mean, I think it was Khadijah. Khadijah was sent to the Prophet Muhammad with all of the teachings of Christianity and Catholicism.
Hmm.
And the problem with the belief is that, yes, they honor all of the prophets, but they don't actually know the teachings of the prophets. The only teaching of that they uphold is Muhammad. So they don't know the compassion of Christ. They don't understand that philosophy, that ideology, that wisdom isn't actually embedded in the religion or the ideology whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, it's really just about slaying and killing, and anybody that's a kafar, anybody that opposes the, it's a mind culling ritual. I mean, their practices, the salah itself, they repeat a allegiance to
Yes.
Muhammad 5 times a day. He is
Yes.
the only prophet of the
Yeah.
prophet of
And that
God.
is a
He's the only
harvesting in
messenger.
and of itself. That is a harvesting in and of itself. And you have
Yes. Yes.
millions and millions and millions of people going there. Incredible control.
It's incredible. And the problem is that they value death for the expansion of their religion over the value of life. And that is where herein lies the biggest issue, the biggest
Yeah.
threat.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's deeply intertwined. I mean, if you think about Stargate 10, which is located in Iraq and Iran, I mean, that is the location of the Iranian regime. The Iranian regime is the head of all of the, terrorist proxies. It is the head, and they are directly in coalition with Qatar and the UAE and the Saudi Arabia. I mean, just because those countries are sitting pretty and not doing nothing about anything doesn't mean that they're not housing all of the leaders to all of
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, the the the, the leaders of the terrorists. And
Yes.
you want to say terrorists, but it's really just they're the assassins. They are the tentacle of the octopus
Yay.
that they deny. It's called Taqiyya. In the belief of Islam, they're allowed to lie to expand their religion. They're
Well,
allowed to
that's the whole
deceive.
point. You lied to the enemy. You become friends with the enemy as if. And it's the ultimate in manipulation and gaslighting, um, and just the art of the lie
Hmm. Hmm.
and being able to perpetuate your own by lying to those that are not your own. I mean, it's really quite amazing. And you talk about the beauty. I did a book event in Dubai, and I was stunned. I was absolutely stunned by the how beautiful and luxurious and over the top in terms of the luxury and the money and the fancy cars and the clothes and like that. I mean, it was just kind of amazing to be in that environment, and I was just marveling and gritting myself the whole time because I did feel this overarching I don't know how to say it, like a subtle push down of my energy. And my technology was a little wonky, which was fine. But I thank God for my grandmother's shungite. I inherited a large cache of shungite when she passed away. I didn't even know what it was, and then when I discovered what it was like, oh, I see. And I brought some and enough to like set up an altar and a grid all around my bed for the entirety of the 10 days that I was there. And it was just strange. I was like, what is this? And people almost I want to say robotic and reptilian at the same time. Just this very odd way of moving in the physical body, but looking like a beautiful human nonetheless in fancy clothes and things. And I felt weird. I really felt weird. And I met up with like two or three people who you can always tell when you meet someone face to face and you have eye contact where we're all like, is this weird or what?
Yeah. Well, Dubai has set their grid up in a way that, for one, they're immediately stripping the divine feminine's power. Immediately, you're like basically
Yes,
treated as a second-class citizen, and that's
yes,
felt, and you know that to be true. But
yes.
not only that, they have archaeological structures that keep the artificial matrix in place. One is their artificial islands. They have all those
Yes.
false islands out there where they're, controlling the elemental systems. They're completely hacking and fracking and degrading the biological resources with no remorse, and people are living on artificial like life, like a artificial
Yes.
life.
In
It's like The
luxury. In
Sims. It's like The
luxury.
Sims.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sims. Not only that, there's a negative ley line that, I mean, they have the Tower of Power there. The largest skyscraper in the world is in Dubai, and that's they do stuff like that. It's all about global domination and shows of domination. They
Mhm.
want to
Yeah.
show that they are the biggest, they are the bestest, and they have the most dominating power. I mean, this is what the Dracos, I mean, will do. I mean, they're embedded in these countries and these systems and all of the dark brotherhoods and everything, all going all the way up to the United Kingdom, that they've been in bed with them for a long time. But it goes from the Tower of Power all the way down to the frame. The frame, the frame, that big frame that they have,
Hmm.
that is it's like a time machine. It's like a hypnosis machine. They're altering time fields there.
I believe that. I believe that. I had some very strange experiences, particularly during meditation and right before I did this particular talk. And I remember thinking, did I just get drugged? Like I thought I was getting drugged. And thank God I bring my own little filtration system and it was like doing all kinds of things, shungite water, the whole nine yards. I mean, I just was like, yeah, I really, really need to do this. So I believe that. I totally believe that. And to talk about the stripping of the divine feminine, it's not just a stripping of the divine feminine, it's actually elevating the dark feminine and the weaponizing of sexuality, of beauty, uh, of and also the sort of split between that and the sort of docile, yes, yes, husband, feminine that will do anything and everything for her man under the guise of obedience. So
Right.
it's like obedience, and just knowing if you don't obey, you probably get the shit kicked out of you.
Yeah. Well, they paint this pretty picture until you're actually living the life.
Hmm.
They portray like, oh, this is for the woman's safety.
Yes, her
They're,
protection.
yeah, they paint this very alluring, and this is how the white women actually get groomed into it. While over in the UK, they're grooming them with, at 13 years. It's a whole different, raping situation over there. But to the Western world, this is the problem, is most of these women are Christian-based subconscious. Not a lot of them are actually religiously invested, but
Hmm.
they have, the compassionate heart, right? They have the Christ
Yes,
philosophy. So they hold love, and this is why the liberal left also side with the Draco lines, is because they have this makes me a good person if I show this person acceptance, love, and compassion for who they
yes,
are.
yes, yeah.
Okay, so they don't understand that they're basically dancing with the devil. They're dancing with it's like going up to an alligator and say, if I just show this alligator love and compassion, I'm going to teach this alligator
Yes.
I'm
Let
good and
me
that
give
love
it
is
a
good.
hug.
It doesn't work that way.
No, indeed, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah. So they snatch them up, they pull them into the ideology and to the belief before they know it, they're in a burqa, they're in a hijab,
Yeah.
and their resources are getting taken away from them. Their money is getting taken away from them. Their friends are getting taken away from them. Um, it's met with religious persecution and guilt. So the man will continuously guilt. They'll continue to shame them in the
Yes.
name of God. You are
Yes.
not doing what's right with God, and they go for the jugular of the woman's connection with God, separating her from God itself. I mean, this is why they're swarming around. Marja, I could go
I hear you. I hear you.
it's literally it's devastating.
Yeah. I had a very interesting experience when I was checking into the hotel. And Dubai has a very seductive vibe to it because it is so beautiful and it is the quote unquote land of opportunity, especially for Southeast Asians, the Filipinos. I'm part Filipino as well. The Thais, Indonesians, people from Australia, they go there. They find work. They find work there, but it was very interesting. So I'm waiting to check in, and behind me is a Middle Eastern couple. I noticed the man and I recognized him. Oh, go, he's one of the authors here. Okay, that's cool. And he goes away. His wife taps me on my shoulder and she says this to me. She says, after you're done, you can take our bags to our room. And I'm like, what? So she assumed that I was like one of the help, like, that I'm going to take her luggage. And I said, I'm in front of you, waiting to check in to this fine hotel, just like you. And I just turned around, and I guess her husband had heard, he was mortified. He was just so mortified. And she was one of those women, very well kept, who had just come to accompany her husband so that she could go on a shopping spree. And anyways, I met this man for dinner a couple of times, and I'm thinking, boy, if she catches him having dinner with me, and it was one of those poignant relationships, kind of a snapshot in time where, he's telling me it was an arranged marriage that he had, and just her sort of we talked about weaponized sexuality. We talked about the agreement between a husband and wife in that society about the husband taking care of the wife. But this particular wives and particular women who grow up in that sort of very coddled, very taken care of, very extremely wealthy. I mean, these people were like loaded, that there is this expectation that you are going to be treated and kept in that same manner. And I could tell that this man was just like his soul was just dying to uh step away from his roots, but it was not to happen, you know.
Yeah. Well, they
Um,
can't because it's
yeah,
apostasy. They'll die.
indeed. Indeed.
Literally, they'll be murdered if they do it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's insane.
yeah.
That's
It
insane.
was it was so weird, and I was a little paranoid. I'm like thinking, okay, well, if we get caught, like I felt naughty, we're not doing anything. And we're in a table with other people. So it's not like it was just me and him having dinner, but I felt weird by that.
Well,
Um,
he's allowed to have four wives, and he's also allowed to have female concubines, and he's
indeed.
also going to be rewarded after that with 72 virgins.
Yes,
So,
of
I
course.
mean,
And they really believe this, by the way.
what did the women get? They said 72 eggplants. I mean, it's just
It's it's
it's so removed from eh, the I guess what we know in the spiritual community, which is like heart coherence, the frequency of the
Mhm.
heart.
Yes.
Um, you know, connection with source and the divine and the law of one, and can, just really having like purity, having peace,
Hmm.
having like it's not compatible. It's
Yeah.
entirely not compatible, and that's what's most concerning is that people have to wake up to that fact because otherwise, if they don't, they will be slowly suicided into um, becoming an Islamic nation, just like they have in Europe. I mean, Europe's been taken over
Hmm. Yes. Yes.
because they were docile,
Hmm.
because they did not recognize that, because they still actually believe that they can two-tier tier that system and everything's going to be okay. When they just had a hybrid Draco sentencing council um, implement harsher punishments for British white men.
Yes. That is like, whoa, that
Like,
actually happened.
whoa. And not only that, they conquered all of their churches, they've canceled Easter, they have initiated the jizya tax on the people. I mean, like, what in the world?
Yeah. What is going on there?
That's scary. I mean, people should really wake up and recognize that if the United States and Israel falls, where the fuck are you gonna go?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
question? Where are you gonna go? Because
Yeah.
guess what? The jihadi sword's gonna be at your front door, and guess what? We're all gonna be in a burqa. Say bye bye.
Yeah.
Like I feel like an extremist and even a radical myself for saying this, but I don't care anymore.
I'm
I don't
with you. I'm with you. I'm just gonna say it. And
Okay.
much to the dismay of my partner, where, it's like it has come to that. But I think you feel the same way. For us to just step back and zip it, I- it hurts my soul to think about that. It really does. It just it doesn't sit well with me. I'm not going to let things happen. I will do what I can to contribute to the sovereignty of humanity and the emancipation of, just the people who are just at that beginning stage of, fuck, things are really messed up, and where do I go from here? You know.
I think people need to realize that, okay, we look at the three factions of religion, right? We have
Hmm.
Judaism and we have Christianity. Yes, have horrible and diabolical things happened throughout history when it comes to these particular two factions of religion? Yes.
Hmm.
Do I deny that there's negative things in their teachings that are messed up and draconian as well? Yes, they are. But they've been de-radicalized throughout history.
Hmm.
Violence has been essentially it's like if you have an animal that you bring them in from the wild and they go a couple, rounds of their litters being born into, society, like they lose their feral, they lose their, you know, they become, more, gentle creatures. And that's kind of what's happened. This has not happened in Islam. And anybody who's telling you that that's true, that, oh, moderates don't want this, and
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
it's the religion of peace. It's not true.
No,
Because
it is not.
at the core of the belief, their allegiance is to Muhammad over any
Yes.
nation. Even
Yes.
if they take an allegiance to a nation, it is not to the nation, it
Yes.
is to Muhammad.
Yeah.
So they are secretly hoping that the extremists and the radicals will actually chop your head off. And they all support jihad at the end of the day. And in those mosques that they've taken over in our churches, they're teaching about killing the infidels. Have you know?
Yeah. They
I,
that,
I,
that's
I,
the Quran, basically. Sirah and the Hadith.
yeah. And
No.
I had Muslim connections and Muslim friends, and I would witness this every time that they would go to the Quran or to the mosque, they would come back angry, rigid, more enforcing of
Hmm.
these angry rules. And I would be like, I didn't understand at the time. I'm like, where the F is this coming from?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why are you like, where? Like, it's all of a sudden, like,
Yeah. Well, I know when I was in my 20s, so we're going back to the 80s here. I remember my fascination for Sufi poetry. And I have a collection of beautiful Sufi poetry, and then got involved with Sufi dancing. And at one point, I did have a boyfriend who was trying to get me to convert and do all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not Christian. I am Jewish, quote unquote, but I don't practice. I just it's not for me. It's not for me. But what I notice, and especially when I started studying comparative religion, when I was in grad school, I realized, oh wow, because the sort of seductive nature of Sufi poetry, it's this beautiful perfumed garden of these beautiful eloquent words by these beautiful people, and I'm sure they were beautiful people. And when I got involved with Sufi dancing, it always occurred in the back of my mind, everybody's going down that way. What's going on over there? Like, there were all these people that were mostly men, all men, walking downstairs into like the basement or the bottom floor. And I'm thinking, what the hell's going on over there? And I realized it was kind of metaphoric because as I got deeper into the readings of the Quran, and one book is specifically dedicated to what Muhammad did, like a blow by blow, a diary of his activities. And I'm thinking, I think that this whole Sufi thing, in my opinion, at least for me, how it affected me was that it was a cover. It was just a first step cover to get me all excited and perhaps ignite me into some kind of indoctrination. And
Yeah.
at one
To
point,
take you deeper into the Tawhid.
oh yeah, at one point I decided that, and this was after a verbal confrontation with him because I was asking too many questions and he didn't like it. And I thought,
They never do. They never
that's
do.
it. That's it. I'm a 1910 numerologically, honey. You can't push me around, you know. And I said it that way. And there was a look on his face where, once again, it just changed. It just changed. And the true nature of what he was actually all about and harboring what was very, very plain. So I feel like I dodged a bullet in that respect. But the indoctrination that so many of these unwitting people who find it as a right and just cause, I'm frightened by those people because there is a sort of corralling, if you will, that happens with these people who get recruited. And I'm wondering, would you say that is part of the Black Heart virus agenda?
Well, to be honest with you, I have studied a little bit of Sufism,
Mhm.
and I like genuinely like loved and adored it. Like I felt like if there was any aspect of the belief that was the most liberated and actually aligned with esotericism and just like higher consciousness, I felt like
Mhm.
it was through the gateways of Sufism, and
Mhm.
I did find a lot of like alliance with that. Like if I was ever forced into having, I would probably try to align with Sufism. But the problem is I think the heart of the those that hold the caliphate in place, they argue against Sufism and they denounce it. So
Mhm.
it's basically seen as like not anything credible.
Yes, but a
So
source nonetheless that could be exploited given the right people, given the right incentives, perhaps. I mean, I really felt that. I really felt that with this man. That it was slowly but surely this, kind of invitation. Come on over here. Let's go.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The thing is, I think if anyone aligns to Sufism, they're probably not going to be able to like align with the actual structures of the rules of the religion itself,
Yes,
because it's too far out of the structure of what they
yes,
have to do to be considered a good Muslim. Y
yes.
you know what I mean? Um, but yeah, I think it's all smoke and mirrors. It does, I mean, it does all go back to, I think, the Black Heart regime ultimately. I mean, these are Stargate 10 types. I mean, this all really
Hmm.
does, come out of I mean, Stargate 10, I mean, this is the Stargate that when we talk about all the Galactic Wars, all of the Orion Wars, like this is
Yes,
all coming from this gate system. And I think this is what people need to awaken to. I mean, stop worrying, I think, so much about this is what I've done. I've thrown it out the window. Stop worrying about things that people are gonna say, like, oh, the word, like specific words that make you feel like you're a bad person, anti-Semitism,
hmm,
Islamophobia, all these things, because these are the gatekeepers. These are the verbal gatekeepers that disallow you from penetrating the realm that allows you to bring the Holy War and the Galactic War to surface and allows us to see how it's playing out through humanity.
yes. I agree with that.
And we have to, I think we have to start speaking openly and freely and unfearfully. I get that a lot of people might look at this conversation and be like, "Oh, this is a hateful conversation," and da 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 da, you know, but I don't care because I've seen the threat. I've seen the core of the hatred. I've seen the core of the cruelty. And therefore, when you hold that information, you cannot no longer function in any other way than but to warn people.
Yes.
Because otherwise, it's like I might as well just stand there and hold the gate open and let everybody fall off the fucking cliff. That's what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree with that. I agree with that.
So,
And
what are you supposed to do?
yeah, exactly. Well, I trust, the folks that are going to understand this conversation, like I said, they have gone through the veils of illusion, the initial veils of illusion. So they're ready. They're ready for, I think the real deal conversations, where we're not flowering it up. We're not spritzing it with fancy rose
Yeah,
water.
yeah. Well,
It
and
is
I
what it
think I
is.
think too, Marja, like, and I know you'll appreciate this because I think you speak to a lot of women's issues. Like your show itself is like rooted like beauty, all that towards women. So I think where you see where women are being the most subjugated,
Mhm.
they're being the most tortured, they're being the most um, suppressed. That's where the root of evil is. Under this particular ideology, women are not allowed to feel sunlight on their skin.
Mhm.
Women are beaten if they do not wear these particular cloths and cover themselves. I mean, it's mandatory. It's a threat. There's actual persecution and severe life-threatening consequences for not. And I'm talking whipped. I'm talking lashed. I'm talking hung. I'm talking stoned to
Yeah.
death.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not pretty.
Yeah. In Iran, they have consequences called an eye for an eye. So if any woman tries to break out of these particular things, they will take and injure her eye.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And there's
So
a
she has to
feedback
wear that for the rest of
system.
her life.
There's a
Yes.
feedback system within the women in the communities where they will narc on each other because that's how you control it. That's how you control it. And that is how full on that control is, the mind control.
And also female circumcision.
Hmm.
I mean, they circumcise the women. I mean, this is the embarrassment rituals, satanic rituals. Do you know similar to male circumcision, which is also a
Hmm.
satanic ritual that's been very normalized.
Yes.
But I mean, that's more like Judaism, right? Like it comes down through. But this is the female circumcision is more through the Islamic nations and child marriages. sex trafficking. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
literally war rape. I mean, it's violent and
Yes.
we have to really think about, I think, what we want to leave to our granddaughters. We got to think about our granddaughters,
Yeah.
100%. We got
Yeah.
to, I mean,
Yeah. I think about my grandchildren and I'm like, holy shit. How is it going to go down? How is it going to go down? I mean, I can't be here forever. And so endeavoring to instill to, my kids and their partners and to have that rippling effect in all directions of uh, being wise and having a voice and having the wherewithal to see through all of the illusions and the divide and conquer distortions and consume and to take care of the body, take care of our minds and hearts, and really be in that alignment. And the alignment is not, it's not one off. We're going to have to adjust because I know for me, there's sometimes I'll something will come across me and grab my attention, and I'm fucked. I'm fucked for like 48 hours, and I have to actually consciously really lift myself up because I faltered, and it happens. It happens time and time again, you know, and we all have tools that are our go-tos to get back up and get back into alignment and re-own our attention, because that's kind of, I feel like that's where our power is ultimately,
yeah.
is how are we managing our attention? Is it over there, or is it like right here where we have full access to what the hell's going on out there, what the hell's going on in here, and be active here in the middle to be called to right action. And sometimes that's all about receding and taking care of ourselves first.
There's that too, definitely. And I also see that it's like we've come to a precipice of two earths or two in order for new earth to emerge and the golden age to emerge, the feminine has to be liberated.
Mhm.
The feminine's consciousness, her wisdom, her enlightenment, her Christed consciousness, her ability to be free. And I'm not talking like feminism, liberal leftist, because that's totally the inversion of it. But the free woman that can walk on the earth barefoot and sing her song and bring forth her messages and channel and bring forth the wisdom. This is what's missing is the feminine wisdom, the feminine counsel, the feminine
Mhm.
Christ that has to return for us to actually proceed. So we have this
Yes.
combating negative force that wants to lock and enslave the feminine to the black Saturn cube and chain her there and enslave her because they know if they enslave her, covered in a black robe and never to be seen on the earth and banished her voice and everything, that we will never make it to the new age. So we have to find a way to cut that cord
Yes.
to
Yes.
liberate ourselves because
Indeed.
it's really all about her. I mean, the men need to realize and recognize this. It's a whole new philosophy that has to be born onto the planet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is where your work and my work really come together, because we have to know the background. The background absolutely has to be known and understood. Otherwise, there is no context. And that's where I think a lot of mistakes get repeated. A lot of misalliances get repeated.
Yeah.
I'm checking the time, sweetheart.
Okay.
How are you for time?
Um, I'm good, but I probably would need maybe a good break before I go to my session.
Okay, sweetheart.
I
We
feel
have
like a
to have more of these conversations, I feel.
Yeah, I would like to invite you. Actually, I'm doing now that we've had this talk, and I didn't know it was going to go this way because I try to very much keep it encoded under the whole Draco thing, but we're like, all right, we're going to go there. We're just going to throw the Islamic
We're
stuff
gonna
out in
go
the
there.
window. We're going there. Um, I'm going to do a show on Sunday night where we're going to talk about the eye for an eye and the female circumcision with
Okay,
Islam. Would you like to come to that live?
I would.
Okay, because I'm going to have actually an Iranian woman join us as well. I think it would be a good discussion to talk about female, like feminine rights and stuff.
Okay,
Um, I'll send you a link and
all
like the
right.
Zoom and everything.
What time would that be? Do you know?
It's 7 p.m. CST,
Okay, so
Sunday.
that would be 6 p.m. my time. Mountain, mountain.
Yeah, I think we'll have 5 women, but I think 5 is the perfect number. Honestly, it's like a very Venusian number, and everyone has
Indeed,
a moment to
indeed.
speak and say what they feel about it. I think it will be a great show.
I would
Yeah.
love that. I would love
Okay.
that.
Oh, I'd love it.
Cool. Well, I thank you so much, Amanda. I mean, this has been a very powerful and much needed conversation, and we will have more. And kids, I will have all of Amanda's information in the show notes below. Very, very important. Please reach out to Amanda. I have personally worked with her. If you're curious about her channel, it is amazing. It is rock solid, amazing, all kinds of value, and she has all kinds of beautiful services. So do engage her. I will have the links below. And thank you. Thank you so much again, Amanda. And thank you
Yeah,
all.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Marja. I really
You're
appreciated
welcome.
this beautiful conversation. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Cool. And so, loves, that's it for today. And until next time, here is to love, truth, and beauty. Bye, darlings. Bye for now.